Do we have a treat for you this morning? Our good friend, meteorologist Jessica Conley, is here in the studio with me. Jess, it is a treat to be working with you, and I know it's a treat for our viewers too. Thanks for coming in to help out.
Yeah, Ryan, as you know, I'm so happy to be here. So we're going to talk about kind of what's going on out there a little bit more too. As Aaron was just talking about, things are getting a little bit slick on the roads. Of course, you want to be careful throughout the day today. You can see current satellite radar, lots of snow moving into southern parts of the state, but we have been talking about, of course, the potential for some ice later on in the day. So we're going to talk about those different precipitation types. We have some fun ways to talk about this. So let's talk about what happens, of course, with snow. With snow throughout the atmosphere, there's cold air. That's what we're seeing today. Temperatures are pretty chilly out there. I think most of us are in the teens and low 20s, but with snow, you have to have that cold air through all of the layers of the atmosphere. So as you go up kind of high into the sky, if it's all cold, the precip stays frozen, and that's where we get the snow. Kind of fun, I think, for some of us this morning, getting some of that snow. What we like a little bit less is getting some sleet. So what happens farther up in the atmosphere is some warm air gets pulled in, and that's what we could see, or what we will see in several hours from now, later on this afternoon. Warm air gets pulled in much farther up in the atmosphere in kind of a shallow layer, so kind of a thin layer. You can see it here. That warm air kind of scoots in between those two layers of cold air. So precipitation starts as frozen, as snow. It falls through that shallow layer of warm air, it melts, and then once it gets back into the cold air, it refreezes. That's when you get the sleet. Those little balls of ice, you know, sometimes you hear them hitting the window, the little ping, as we call it. Remember, sleet pings, and freezing rain, everyone's least favorite, clings. So this will be problematic as we head, or could be problematic as we head into a little bit later on this afternoon too. What happens with the freezing rain is it starts as snow high up in the atmosphere. Then we get kind of a thicker layer of warm air, so things look like rain as we get toward the surface. That rain kind of falls, but right at the surface, see that little shallow layer of cold air? That's when everything refreezes. So once we head into later on this afternoon, you may notice the temperature still in the 20s, maybe upper 20s or even low 30s, but you're seeing rain fall from the sky. Well, be careful, because that's where the freezing rain is. It looks exactly like plain regular rain falling from the sky, and a lot of times people think, oh, it's warmed up. But it hasn't in many cases, and that's again what we could see later on today. Once the rain though gets very close to the surface, we have this cold air pool at the surface. That's when that rain kind of clings to everything. It freezes on contact. You know what it looks like. I know we've had it a million times before, but that's when the branches get coated in that layer of ice. Of course, that could cause potential for power outages, and we'll be looking at that as we go into later on today. Hopefully not, but there definitely is a possibility. So remember, sleet pings, this is like my favorite graphic, sleet pings, we get those tiny balls of ice, right? And you know I made this one like back in the day. I love this one. Those tiny balls of ice, you know, the little ting, ting, ting you hear against your car window or your house window or whatever. When you say you can hear it, that is sleet. Now, when you can't hear it, it looks like rain. Freezing rain clings. It glazes everything with ice. That's when conditions can get very, very dangerous. Of course, it's all dangerous to drive in the frozen precip. Not ideal, but that's what we could see a little bit later on. The freezing rain, when it clings to the branches, right, it really weighs them down. And if we get enough of it, which hopefully doesn't happen, then we could experience some power outages. So again, today, Ryan made this beautiful graphic here. The snow will be changing to some sleet and some freezing rain, potentially, especially closest to the coast as we head into a little bit later on this afternoon. So please just be careful if you're doing any driving. Of course, if you're out shoveling, you want to be careful because, you know, it's been pretty chilly. So things will get coated with that ice a little bit later on today. So just take your time out there. What else we got? Oh, snowfall forecast, of course. That's an important one. 3 to 6 closest to the coast. As you move farther inland, we get into the 6 to 10 inch range. Northern Maine, much higher amounts, of course, because they're not going to change over. They'll see all snow, nice fluffy snow there in many locations in far northern Maine. But as you get closer to the coast, all of that available moisture could change to some sleet or freezing rain, which will lower our snowfall totals and make things a little bit slick. Ryan, no one likes talking about the freezing rain, of course, but it is what it is. I mean, it's happening, so we gotta tell you about it, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I think that for people watching and trying to figure out, you know, how to spend their Sunday, that's the complicated thing here. We know how to deal with snow, but we're going to get several hours of sleet and then some of this freezing rain.
Yeah.
So.
not fun.
No, not at all. And as you mentioned, once we do get into the freezing rain period this evening, there could be some trees that get coated, power lines that get coated, so we'll have to follow that.